My respect to Venerable Dr. Piyaratana. Greetings to our viewers of Global Buddhist Congregation Dhamma Discourse Program. Today I am at Wat Hathainaret. Wat Hathainaret is in Buddha Monthon area, and Buddha Monthon is in the outskirts of Bangkok, between Bangkok and Nakhon Pathom. We will be meeting with Venerable Dr. Piyaratana, but before we go on, let me take a few minutes to introduce him. Venerable Dr. Piyaratana is a Pali scholar from Sri Lanka, but he's been living in Thailand for many years. He completed all the requirements for Pali studies for monastic level and then received his bachelor degree from University of Piyaratana in Pali. Later, he received a master degree from Buddhist and Pali University of Sri Lanka in Colombo. After that, he came to Thailand to further his education and went to Mahachulalongkorn Rachavidyalaya University, or MCU, which is one of the largest Buddhist university in Asia. There he completed master degree in Buddhist studies from MCU in Bangkok and also PhD in Buddhist studies at MCU in Bangkok. He's now the head of the English program at the Faculty of Buddhism at MCU Wang Noi campus. Today we are fortunate because he kindly agreed to answer some of the questions on Theravada Buddhism for both Sri Lanka and Thailand. Without further ado, may I give the microphone to the Venerable to start our day with the chanting. Thank you very much once again.
So before we start this discussion, let's pay homage to the Buddha, to the Dhamma, to the Sangha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
If you would allow me, I will go on with the question. Venerable, you've lived in Thailand for a long time. Could you kindly say the similarities and differences between the Buddhists in Sri Lanka and Thailand?
So before going to start this conversation, I would like to convey my appreciation for the global Buddhist congregate and also organizers on behalf of Thailand, Madam Somsuk and also Madam Apinya, for giving me opportunity to share knowledge, some idea related to Buddhism in Sri Lanka, and also it might be related to the Buddhist around the world, to have some experience, to have some knowledge about how the Buddhists in Sri Lanka put into practice the Buddha's teaching in their day-to-day life with some historical overview. And with concerning the first questions related to the between two countries, Sri Lanka and Thailand, and I could mention that in 2003 Mahachulalongkorn Rajavidyalaya University, they have organized international exhibition at Sri Lanka to commemorate the Buddhist relationship, especially the establishment of Syamopali Mahanikaya in Sri Lanka 250th anniversary. In these occasions, at the same time, at Kandy. On behalf of Sri Lanka, we got opportunity to organize, to exhibit the history of palm right traditions in Sri Lanka. So, two exhibitions were having in the same place. So, in this during this exhibition, I got opportunity to meet some representatives of Mahachulalangkorn Raja Vidyalaya University, the most venerable rector at that time, Pratepso Tepsapon. Right now we know that all about him as Brahma Pandit, and also the present rector of Mahachulalangkorn Raja Vidyalaya University. At that time we came to know about him as Pramaha Somjin Sammapanyo, and he was the dean of graduate school at that time, and also some venerables at MCU, Venerable Achan Hansa, Achan Sombun, and due to these venerables, I got opportunity to learn, to study or to complete my master degree at Mahachulalangkorn Raja Vidyalaya University. So 2003 I entered to study at Mahachulalangkorn Raja Vidyalaya University, and since that until today I am spending my time, I think almost more than 17 years in Thailand. So during this time I got opportunity to work with between Sri Lanka and Thailand quite closely, since two countries are representing the Buddhist relationship. So it is my great honor, great opportunity to share some experience via between two countries in related with the Buddhism. As you know that Sri Lanka and Thailand, we both are practicing Theravada Buddhist traditions. So there is no different with related to the Buddhist traditions, as we both practice the same traditions, but it is due to the two different countries and two different environment within the Theravada traditions, we are having some differences. What could I say? That is maybe it is due to the cultural and the social representations of the two countries. So we are having some differences, but however, the first I could mention that two countries are having very long relationship with Buddhist traditions. As we know that quite long time ago, during the period of Sukhothai, the Sri Lankan monk Venerable Mahasami, we call Mahasami, was able to establish or introduce Buddhism into Thailand, and we all know that that tradition was called as Siam Wong, Lanka Wong or Lanka Vansa. And due to this relationship, when Buddhism was in trouble during the Kandyan period, it's almost 267 years ago, Sri Lankan kings and monks, they at that time actually novice traditions, Venerable Samanera Saranankara, so they have invited monks from Thailand to visit Sri Lanka and re-establish high ordination in Sri Lanka. So that at that time King Borom Court, in our record we mentioned that King Dhammika, so with his guidance, Most Venerable Upali, he visited Sri Lanka, and with complete support by the royal Thai government, Thai kings, they have re-established higher ordination in Sri Lanka, and until today these higher ordinations we called as Siamopali Mahanikaya. So due to this internal relationship between two countries, it is very interesting to notice that we hold almost the Buddhist traditions related to the dispensation of the Buddha almost the same, but as I mentioned earlier, there are some differences we can also experience due to the culture and of the two countries. As you know that in Thailand, it is very obvious and very significant fact when we concern with the Thai Buddhism, every monks they should go Pindapata, or they should go for alms gathering in every morning. So that has been a compulsory factors within the Buddhist traditions in Thailand. But however, it is quite different from Sri Lanka. If we observe the Buddhism in Sri Lanka today, it is very rare the monks, those who are going for alms gathering. So the people, they prepare foods at their home and then bring to temple and offer to the monks in temple. So I am not sure what was the reason why that tradition has been broken, going for alms gathering. So it is not now a practice of Sri Lankan Buddhist monks to go for collecting alms in the morning. It might be due to various social factors. So that has been a compulsory fact within Thai Buddhism. So when we concern about the difference, the practices within the two countries, this can be one. And beside that, however, even though the re-establishment of Buddhism in Sri Lanka was happened with the assistance of Thai traditions, Thai monks and the kings. So however, in Sri Lanka, the culture of ordinations, high ordinations, that means like a monk or those who are going to be ordained, they have to make determinations, and they have to make what's called the expectation to continue these ordinations for long last until the life remain. So that the ordination in Sri Lanka is not temporary. So this is quite different from Thailand, as we know that Thai Buddhist culture, the Buddhist traditions, we can see that the temporary ordinations, due to various reasons, the lay devotees, they get opportunity, get ordination for temporary. It might be, I have seen in my temple, when somebody passed away, especially when the parent passed away, as the children, sometime to express their gratitude to the parents, they get temporary ordinations. And also some whenever they get opportunity to spend time as at least like 1 month or 2 months or more than 2 months, it might be remain more than 1 year. So they get ordinations, and they believe that this ordination is opportunity to improve their the value of ethical life and to maintain their day to day the problems, issues, with giving priority to the Buddhism. So this is somehow been a different practice of Sri Lanka, and until like a recent year there might be some disturbing practice within some Sri Lankan, but until today, like they believe that the ordination should be long last as far as their life remain. So, this I could say that that is quite different, the practice within two countries, and it is also interesting like why how Thai Buddhist with this temporary ordination, how they spend life in the temples as being a part of monasticism, and they paid much attention to practice what is called the patipatti, or the to develop the spiritual life. And however, the practice has been two aspect of Buddhist tradition between Sri Lanka and Thailand, and one most important factors within the Theravada Buddhist practice of two countries, I could say that somehow it might be the quite controversy, that is the bhikkhuni ordinations. As you know that in Thailand so far it is not such a well recognized practice within the tradition. So, Buddhism was preserved and protected with the three assemblies of the Buddha, that is the bhikkhu, upasaka, upasika. So far it is in history of Thai Buddhism, there was not such lineage of bhikkhuni. So, however, until today, that is why I said it is quite a controversy, but however still they remain the traditions as with the Buddhist the practice of the Buddhist lineage with three assemblies. But in Sri Lanka, however, that is like the bhikkhuni ordination was firmly established at the same time where the Buddhism was established in Sri Lanka, that is in the 3rd century. As we know that the King Emperor Asoka, he sent his son Arahant Mahinda to establish Buddhism in Sri Lanka, and afterwards that with the later on like Queen Anula, wife of King Devanam Petissa, wanted to get ordination. So, that due to that reason Arahant Mahinda requested his sister Sanghamitta, Arahant Sanghamitta, to visit Sri Lanka and establish the bhikkhuni ordination. So, however, that was the reason like the bhikkhuni ordination was firmly established in Sri Lanka until the Polonnaruwa period, and during that time like the lineage was somehow was broken, but until last few years ago now, with some internal and external supports, and it was able to re-establish bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka. So, somehow there are more than 200-300 bhikkhunis at the moment in Sri Lanka. So, the former or the historical factors about bhikkhuni ordinations, that it was a practice within Sri Lankan Buddhist tradition for a long period of the time, and the bhikkhunis also played very significant role in establishment of Buddhism in Sri Lanka. But however, that lineage has broken. So, even though there are the appearance of the bhikkhuni ordinations somehow in Sri Lanka, so I could say that it is not recognized by Sri Lankan Sangha, and also it is not within any constitution or of the country or the Ministry of Buddha Sasana. So, this I could mention that. With that I also like to figure out one significant point with Sri Lankan Buddhist traditions or the Buddhism in Sri Lanka, and also with comparing or with Buddhism in Thailand, due to some historical factors that in Sri Lanka the Buddhism has been an state religion with its constitutions. So, if we go through the country's constitution, Buddhism is the state religion. Therefore, this with state the factors of state religions, it is believed that whoever the Sri Lankan president, he must be a Buddhist. So this might be the reason. Somehow in history we have observed that some president used to practice before some other religion, but however they have converted to be Buddhist and get opportunity to be the president of the country or the prime minister of the country at that time. So when we get back to this factor within Thai Buddhist culture, however we don't see such a constitution within the government. Buddhism should be the state religion, but I think that is due to the number of the Buddhists, those who are following the practice in Buddhism, with comparing to Sri Lankan the Buddhist percentage. In Sri Lanka we have now only 74 the Buddhists, those the percentage of the Buddhists, those who practice the Buddhism, and in Thailand I think it is about 95%. So due to it might be due to this fact that by practice it has been almost a Buddhist 100% Buddhist country, so there is no such need of such constitution. So however this might be, I say that this is something different between two Buddhist countries. And also I would like to add some the factors related to rites and rituals between two countries, especially when I spent time in Thailand while studying and while teaching. I observed that the practice related to rituals, when somebody passed away, in Thai culture, Thai traditions, they like to bring dead body of the person and keep in the temple, do the rituals daily. It depends up to the each family of the persons. So it might be sometime they keep for a 7 week or for a week, or sometime more than that, and sometime 100 days. So that is quite different from Sri Lanka. As we observe in Sri Lanka, the dead body, when somebody passes away, they keep only 3 days or at least like only 5 days, not more than that. And within this time they do rituals just last day of before the cremations or before bury. So almost we experienced that the people in Sri Lanka, they used to practice not to cremate but to bury of the dead person body. So this is somehow the people believe that our body should be useful for even after our death. So when bury, at least insect get benefit from our dead body. So this is why only this practice actually the former time only for the royalties and also for the monk they do cremations, but later on due to the due to the time actually, so and also the space, right now we have been also practicing such a cremation tradition for the lay people also. And during this time, and when in Thailand I have seen that they recite Piyaratana during the funeral rites or rituals. But in Sri Lanka, like last day before the cremations, they invite a number of monks and to deliver one specific Dhamma course or the discourse of the teacher, the Buddha, with related to the impermanence, and to make people aware life is subject to be death and we have to observe. So what we have to follow, that apply the teachings of the Buddha to prepare ourselves. So we are also going to be like this. So that is the only rituals related to the funeral, and beside that, like we do other rites or the rituals, just like after 7-day merit making and after 3 months of the merit makings, after 1 year merit making, something like that. Quite we do as the familiar traditions. And also in Thailand, like when we concern with the Buddhist practice, so they especially celebrate one of the most significant factors within the Buddha's biography, Buddha's life. So therefore each full moon day they celebrate differently. What I mean different, in Sri Lanka, just like May, we celebrate Poson full moon day, that is related to the arrival of Buddhism to Sri Lanka. So like that, 12 month, each full moon day, we have such historical the factors related to the Buddhism. Just like in this August, in Sri Lanka we have the Buddhist cultural practice, which is we do for the tooth relic of Buddha in Kandy. So that is in Sri Lanka today. Now they just started yesterday, so it is falling like almost 15 to 16 days. The processions we perform for the sake of veneration, sake of honoring the tooth relic of the Buddha. So that is the most important and significant cultural Buddhist cultural festival in Sri Lanka. So this is very important for the Sri Lankan Buddhist. And as here I have when I stay in Thailand, I observe that the practice of the Buddhism or the festivals almost related to the biography of the Buddha. So since the Buddhist was such a deep rooted religion in Sri Lanka, so there might be some different cultural festivals also related to the Buddhism, but related to only for Sri Lankan Buddhist traditions. So this is somehow we can observe between two countries. And beside that, of course, they are practicing same the Vesak full moon day, the celebration of Vesak. However, within that also we can see, like in Sri Lanka, we always add something to practice during this Vesak periods, and also we get government, at least they announce 2-3 holidays for Vesak celebrations. And also it is interesting that in Sri Lanka every full moon day is a holiday. So no matter that the people, they should spend time to practice their life in the Buddhist manners, Buddhist traditions within this specific full moon day. So that is quite different from Thailand, as I know that each month there is the full moon day, but in Thailand we don't get such holiday. So in Sri Lanka, like we get that opportunity to the practice dana or the sila bhavana and these meritorious deed within this specific day. So as I mentioned earlier that the Vesak full moon day, we both countries are celebrating with giving much priority to the practice, especially the generosity or the dana. And also the in this day we can see that the both countries are offering special offerings to the monks more than the other days. So this can be the most important practice within Thai Buddhist tradition. But beside that also they have like observing rainy retreat, and also when the rainy retreat finish, offering katina. So those activities actually quite similarly practice Sri Lanka and also in Thailand. So somehow the practice as I mentioned earlier, even though we practice the like katina ceremony, so it is quite different when I observe between two countries. I am not sure it was the practice in historically until today in Sri Lanka. Like we like the some temple actually they prepare the 3 month for the katina ceremony. So the some they start from collecting or they making their own robe within this 3 month. So the temple they offer like just the piece of white cloth, and the temple the monk of the temple they prepare time to make it weave as a rope and make coloring and do everything as instructed in the Vinaya Pitaka. So this is I have seen in Sri Lanka, like almost temple we do, especially the Katna celebration we do in different manners. I mean the different traditions, cultural practice. We until today like we make our own cutting rope, not just buy from the shop and just do the offering. So that is quite different. So I mean like I have seen that the some practice within two traditions. I mean we say we do the same practice, but in order to same as the Buddhist, but within the practice we can see like some rituals or the rites related to two countries are having two different aspects. So this something related to the Katna ceremony like that. We can say that some practices of Thailand it might be different from Sri Lanka. It is due to we are having two different cultures. So once I was studying for the master degree, I remember one of my master was saying, that time I was studying the Buddhism in Thailand. So the master was saying that when you study Buddhism in Thailand, actually you have to concern two things, that is like the Buddhism in Thailand and Thai Buddhism. So he clarified that Buddhism in Thailand means the Buddhism is historically established amount of Buddhism and its practice, and Thai Buddhism means like that historical Buddhism how deal with Thai Buddhists. As you know that that is quite interesting to notice that the believing of amulet, that has been very significant fact within Thai Buddhist culture. So sometime when we visit some area like Wat Mahatat, so we can see that all the people they like to buy and take this amulet, but this is quite different from Sri Lanka. So the people they don't wear the Buddha statues or small Buddha as an amulet. So this is some the people like they believe that we like ordinary people we are having such defilements and something else, but Buddha's spirituality is very pure, so it is not suitable to wear the Buddha statue or the amulet within our body, because we sometimes with knowing or without knowing we perform some bad act or immoral behavior. So this is not fair with the Buddha. So the people they are afraid of wearing amulet, and also like so this is but in some, as I mentioned earlier, that is different from the, maybe it is because of the social factors. So then the people they like to wear the amulet. So this the wearing of amulet quite different practice between two countries, and with that other almost the practice I could say that since we both are traditions both following Theravada Buddhist tradition, so some historical factors within the Buddhism I could say they are same, but due to the social and cultural influence from other countries, again I remember that master was saying why Buddhism in Sri Lanka is stronger, because you are alone, you like an island, but in Thai Buddhism it is quite open to other countries, like so we get influence from some practice related to the Mahayana Buddhism, and also some practice related to some Hinduism or something like that. But in Sri Lanka of course it is because of island. In Sri Lanka, like until today we don't have any Mahayana traditions or the Mahayana practice, no any Mahayana temple in Sri Lanka. So then they have only the Theravada tradition, no any Mahayana or Vajrayana traditions or the temples in order to when we compare with like in Thailand. So it is due to they get some influence from some outsiders or from other countries. So like that I could mention that we both countries are following Theravada Buddhism. So historical factors of Theravada Buddhism are the same, but some due to some social and cultural factors we are having such differences within same Theravada Buddhism.
Thank you very much, Venerable. That was very informative, very interesting. Please allow me to give some comments. On the point about ordination, you said in Sri Lanka, once you ordain for life. When I was in Sri Lanka many years ago, our guide, a Sri Lankan man, told us that he was ordained in Thailand for about 7 years, and then he disrobed. When he went back to Sri Lanka, he could not go back to his village. He felt embarrassed to face the people in his village. He said he moved to another village and his family also moved. Maybe the family also didn't feel good that their son ordained and then disrobed. As a Buddhist, I like that commitment. Once you ordain for life. Once one decided to be in monkhood, it is good to be committed wholeheartedly and stay in monkhood to propagate the teachings of the Buddha. In Thailand, perhaps in the past, we have the same kind of practice. But nowadays, there are people who want to, at least in their life, going through the ordination. When they are at ordination age, particularly up country, their family would like to see them being ordained. So they do it to give all the merits to their parents. And they could be ordained for 1 vassa or 1 month. But nowadays, they ordain for shorter, even for 10 days. Another point that you mentioned about Pindapada. In Thailand, there's still that practice where monks come out for Pindapada in the morning, although we see less and less in the city, but more so in upcountry, in the village. As a Buddhist, we would like to have a chance to offer alms every morning before we go to work. It's a good deed to do to start our day. And in the Mangala Sutta, Samanananja Tassanang, it is a good blessing to see Samana, to see the monks. Perhaps that's the reason the Buddha wanted monks to go out for alms round in the morning, as it is a good blessing to start a day for the lay devotees to see the monks and to have a chance to do dana. Hence, there was a tradition since the Buddha's time. As you said in Sri Lanka, the monks don't come out for Pindapada because the lay people go and offer food at the temple. However, I met some monks from Navayana. He said he go out for Pindapada every morning. Perhaps if you live in a village or the forest monk, they still continue that practice. Another point that you mentioned about the tradition, which is different. In Sri Lanka, people don't bring the body of the family members who passed away to the temple. There is a separate place that you do that. I see that kind of practice is probably the same as in Myanmar. I went to one funeral in Myanmar. They have separate location for cremation ceremony. In Thailand, we bring the dead body of the family members who passed away to the temple so that the family members, relatives and friends could attend the funeral at the temple. Normally, the family would invite 4 monks and the monks would chant Abhidhamma, which is Dhammasankani and Patan, at the religious rite to convey the last meritorious deeds to the dead one. And it's a chance for the family members and friends to make merits so that the Kusala deeds would be made on behalf of the one who passed away. The meritorious deeds of these religious activities was due to the deceased, so the one who passed away could get that kind of merits. using this last occasion to bring friends and family together and listen to the Abhidhamma. The point that you mentioned that in Sri Lanka you would invite monks to do Dhamma discourse, and the discourse would be on impermanence. We do Dhamma discourse during the 7 days, or if they don't do any discourse, only reciting Abhidhamma, then on the last day before the cremation, you would offer breakfast or lunch to the monks, sometimes the whole temple. So it's like the last chance to do meritorious deeds on behalf of the deceased. And then either before the lunch or after the lunch, they would have the monk that is invited to give Dhamma discourse, and the subject would be probably impermanence or about sufferings, birth, decay, sickness, and death. About the Katina ceremony in Sri Lanka, in which you still have the tradition of making the robe from weaving, cutting, sewing the robes, and then offer to the monks for Katina celebration, instead of buying the finished product from shops. I think there is a similarities as in Thailand in the past. In the old days, we would do the same thing. Although we don't see much of that tradition, but in some provinces in the north and the northeast, particularly among the forest temples, the lay devotees would do the same thing. In the outskirts of Bangkok, Wat Chak Dang have done this for many years. The lay devotees plant the cotton seeds early in advance, and then they would pick the cotton, making the yarn and do the weaving, and then coloring and then cutting to make the robes. However, the materials may not be enough for the 70 monks in the temple. At the moment, they are weaving the materials as much as they can. They have about 2 months to do now, as the Katina celebration would be in the middle of October. This is a beautiful tradition in which the people come together to help, and that create harmony and the bonding among the devotees. On the point about amulet, I kind of agree with your practice that the lay people are still full of defilements, and to keep the amulet, which is the image of the Buddha, it's not proper. But in Thailand, the reason some people wear amulet, apart from believing that the amulet would protect you, some people would have the amulet with them to remind them to think of the triple gem or think of the Buddha Rupa from their hometown or from their temple. But I agree that the amulet cannot protect you if you're not doing good deeds, if you are still full of lobha, dosa, and moha, and you hope the amulet will purify you. It's impossible. Another point which I really like in Sri Lanka is that on the full moon day, you actually see a lot of people go to the temple, because in Sri Lanka the full moon day is a public holiday. Hence that is easy for people to spend time at the temple to do chanting or meditation or listen to Dhamma talk. Last time we were there during the full moon day, and we saw a lot of people wearing white clothes, and they come to the temple in the morning and then they stay overnight. I think it's a good practice, and in Thailand we have that in the past. We still have that more so in upcountry than in Bangkok. I would like to thank you very much once again, Venerable, for your interesting information to let us know about the practices of the Buddhists in Sri Lanka, the similarities and the differences compared to Thailand. And we hope to have a chance to hear more from you in the future. Thank you. And sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.